Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Watch Charts YouTube channel. I'm Hamza, and today we're talking about the Omega Speedmaster Professional, also known as the Moonwatch. If you're in the market for one and are wondering which one offers the best value, in this video we'll cover some of the available options and what makes each one special. You probably already know that the Speedmaster Professional is a 42mm manually wound chronograph watch. On its own, it's a good watch, but the whole reason that enthusiasts care about it as much as they do is because of its history. It was the first watch worn on the moon, and it's always been very strongly associated with the lunar program in its entirety. And it's a veritable icon of the watch world. So that alone makes it very desirable among enthusiasts and collectors. But of course, because Omega has made so many over the years, the question, of course, is which Moonwatch should you buy if you decide you want to get one? You can start getting into the considerations. How much of a purist do you want to be about it? Or can you even be about it with the options that are available from the modern catalog? If we started comparing all of the Speedmaster references that Omega has ever released, we'd probably be here still counting them all by the time Omega releases the next limited edition. So to prevent that sort of slip down the rabbit hole, what we're going to do is instead just focus on the bare bones classic Moonwatch, which is the closed case back, Hesalite crystal, manual wind movement, stainless steel on a stainless steel bracelet configuration of this watch, and look at the current generation, the previous generation, and the generation before that that kind of meet that configuration. So if we look at the Hesalite closed case back prices, then the current generation watch, which is the reference 310.30.42.50.01.001, has a retail price of $6,400, but has a current market price of around $5,200 and contains the 3861 movement. The generation before that, which is the one that I personally own and that I bought at retail, is the reference 311.30.42.30.01.005. This one has a current market price of around $4,600, and its most recent retail price was $5,350. And then the generation of the Speedmaster Professional before this was the 357050 or the 3570.50. This had a last known retail price of $4,500. It was discontinued in 2013. It started production in 1996, and it has a current market value of $4,000. The reason that it's interesting to compare three of these, again, is because there is no modern incarnation of the Moonwatch. So if as a purist or as an enthusiast you care about getting the watch that really transcends the story of the watch or the mechanical object that you hold in your hands and lets you be associated with the history of the lunar program and of the first watch to have ever been worn on the surface of the moon, that watch just simply doesn't exist. In the modern era, you would have to go back and look for a vintage example. But if you wanted to compare these three examples, then what we can do is we can run through what some of the trade-offs are on both an aesthetic and on a technical level, and then maybe you can figure out which of those matters more to you or less to you. And a lot of the details that I'm going to be covering here come from an excellent article in Fratello Watches, which is the source of information about Speedmasters on the web. So definitely go and check them out. Let's talk about aesthetics first. And what we're going to do is we'll compare the current generation 3861 movement Speedmaster to the previous generation 1861 movement Speedmaster. So the bracelet on the newer edition is hands down better than the older one, both just functionally as well as from a historical standpoint. It's more accurate to the bracelets that were historically available on the Moonwatch. It's got a stronger taper on the bracelet width. It drapes the wrist a lot better just because of the way the links articulate. On the Hesalite version, the bracelet is fully brush, and the clasp even is better on the current generation. It's historically inspired. It's a smaller size, so a smaller portion of it is the fixed portion that sits on the bottom of your wrist. And from a technical standpoint, it's a better clasp because it now also has micro adjust. One of the big aesthetic differences between the current and the previous generations, which brings the Speedmaster Professional in the current generation back to being historically faithful, is the dot over 90 on the tachymeter bezel. Similarly, there's a bunch of other changes like a step dial and the placement of the font and placement of the various elements on the dial that not only improve legibility in the current generation, but also in a lot of cases, such as the step dial or the dot over 90, are just simply more historically faithful. So if you, like me, bought the previous generation, then the newer generation definitely does a better job of hewing to the original aesthetically. But on the movement side, it's actually a little bit more interesting to make that comparison. The 3861 is a thoroughly modern technological marvel from Omega. It has anti-magnetism. It has a coaxial escapement. So even the service intervals on these are going to be longer because they require less lubrication. It's METAS certified, which means it's a master chronometer, which means it's COSC certified, plus has the anti-magnetism and more tightly regulated movement. It has hacking seconds, which is not something that the 1861 movement ever had. And it also has very nice finishing on the movement, which is machined, but nevertheless, unless you went for the Sapphire version in the previous version of the Moonwatch, you wouldn't get. So the movement is definitely just purely from a technical standpoint a much better movement because it has all of these features that the previous one didn't. But to achieve this, it has over 50% non-interchangeable parts with its predecessor. So it's actually really just like it can be considered a fundamentally new movement. And that's completely sort of that's inspired maybe from what came before it, but it is not really comparable in a lot of ways. But the 1861, on the other hand, is a movement that much more directly draws its lineage to the caliber 861. The caliber 861 is, of course, relevant because it is the caliber that was in the Moonwatches that flew as part of the Apollo 17 missions. And it only flew as a cockpit instrument, so it kind of went around the moon and came back, but never landed on the moon. But the 1861 is essentially the same movement as that 861 movement that was part of the Apollo program, with just an extra jewel, and now it's rhodium plated. And some other minor updates that have been made along the way. But basically, like when you look at the 1861 movement and you think about how historically faithful it is to the movements that were in the watches that were actually in the lunar program, the association there is much stronger. Neither movement has ever been qualified by NASA itself for spaceflight, but NASA itself only ever qualified the caliber 321 Speedmaster, the OG Speedmaster, in 1965. But the 861 caliber did actually receive qualification by Omega instead of by NASA in the 1970s as part of their upgrade to the watch. So the 3861, for example, I'm not sure if it's been tested in the same way. So depending on whether you, from a technical standpoint, care about having the latest and the greatest or having the best of what you can get from a watch from Omega, then the 3861 is obviously the better choice. But if you want something that's a little bit more sort of historically accurate and historically inspired, then the 1861 really, in my opinion, was the better movement between these two options. So on the aesthetic and the movement fronts, therefore, it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of which watch is quote unquote better, depending on what you care about. So that was the comparison between the current generation and the previous generation. But what we can also do is a comparison between the previous generation, which is the 311 dot, the rest of the serial number, and compare that to the one that came before it, which is the 3570.50. And between these two watches, there's actually two main differences. The watch head more or less is identical between the two. The biggest difference was the bracelet upgrade from the 3570 to the 311. The 3570 had a bracelet that was pin and collar construction. And so if you think about the fact that at this point, even the youngest of these watches are nearly a decade or older, these bracelets tend not to hold up as well as the upgrade that came in the 311, which is the screw-based construction. And that's just not only going to be newer when you're buying used because because it was in production from 2014 to 2020, but also just because of the nature of its construction will have held up better over that period of time. The second major difference is in the packaging and in what's accompanying the watch itself. The 311 has this massive display case, and it comes with all sorts of goodies like a loop, a Velcro strap, a NATO strap, a strap changing tool. There's this weird medallion / challenge coin thing included in the case for no reason, but none of these things really matter. They caused a price increase and probably help explain some of the price increase, but purely from a watch perspective, they really don't add anything. So if now, given these facts, you were to try and decide which particular configuration of Moonwatch you wanted to buy, it all comes down to what the trade-offs are going to be. If you want to get the best bracelet that you can, then the bracelet on the current generation Moonwatch is not only available to buy on its own, its price is under $1,000. I'm not sure what the exact amount is, but you could buy that bracelet and just put it onto the 311 or the 3570 Speedmasters, and it would fit more or less perfectly. And so all of the critiques that we've just sort of covered for the previous two generations on the bracelet front would just simply cease to apply if you went with this bracelet for whatever watch you decide to buy. And then the freedom that that gives you is to try and find the best watch head that you can from the previous two generations at the best possible price. So the reference 311, there's a listing that I found from a reputable seller that was listed for $3,750. It was for a Speedmaster Professional from 2018. So you add on the 3861 bracelet, and this listing for $3,750 brings you to, about $4,750 for the previous generation head with the current generation bracelet. But since the previous generation and the generation before that, the head is actually identical, what you could do is, if you can find a really nice condition 3570 watch head, get the bracelet from the current generation and then use that head. So a listing that I found from another reputable seller for a 3570 head was for just $3,050 for a 2007 Speedy. So that's 15 years old. And if you add on the new bracelet, that brings you to around $4,000. So already you're $700 to $800 cheaper than what you would be spending if you bought a watch head from the 311 and added on the new bracelet to it. And of course, this is really kind of the one particular way to kind of square the circle by trying to get the best of each of the different configurations and kind of mashing them together. At the end of the day, though, it is a question of how much money you're willing to spend and what you're after. If you're just interested in getting the best watch that you can for, under $5,000 or around $5,000 that, happens to look the part, but isn't necessarily under the hood, faithful to the quote unquote Moonwatch, then, the current generation Moonwatch at a market price of $5,200 is actually a bit of a no-brainer because it's just so much better as a timekeeper, and it's just so much better in terms of the lip service that it pays to the historical aesthetics of the Speedmaster that you really shouldn't be considering any other options. But does that make it a better Moonwatch? And that's where I think my personal opinion is that what matters about the Moonwatch is, what matters to you. So for me, the technical aspects of it are much more sort of compelling. And so for me, not just on the cost front, but purely even on the technical front, I would want to get an 1861 Speedmaster. And what I ended up doing actually is, going the route of buying the 311 at retail. But if I were to buy a Speedmaster today, I would actually be tempted to see if I could find a 3570 watch head in the best possible condition that I could find, and then, just paying a little bit extra for that bracelet to get the best of both worlds. Because I would get the best possible bracelet, not just from an aesthetic and a technical standpoint, but also from a faithfulness to its historical version standpoint. And I would be getting a movement that is still directly inspired, if you want to use that word, from the watches that were used as part of the lunar program. And it looks more or less like a Speedmaster Professional. And only really if you start kind of really diving deep into the rabbit hole do you start seeing, these differences, and they really start to matter. The conclusion is which one you end up deciding to buy is up to what you care about having in your Moonwatch and what about the Moonwatch matters to you. The good thing is, as collectors and enthusiasts, no matter which way you decide, there are no wrong answers here. It's just a question of how much money you want to spend and which features you want to get out of it.